Okay, we can't jump into emails and reports without understanding the importance of professional and polite language and vocabulary and grammar and angle in emails and reports. So email etiquette really does matter. I would say it matters now more than ever. In our international world that we live in today, where so many people rely on AI tools, and it's obvious that everyone all of a sudden has the exact same language, the same angle, the same tone. Well, you can't rely solely on AI. It's not professional. People know it's not your own words. So you have to, use the tool. The tool is a great tool, but you can't rely on it solely. Likewise, you can't rely on translators solely either. What's written in German does not translate well into business English. What's written in Spanish or Arabic does not necessarily translate well into business English. So there's lots of etiquette that's involved, lots of politeness, lots of do's and lots of don'ts. So we're going to get a little surface of this right now. So email etiquette does matter because you only have one chance to make a first impression. Say that again. You have one chance to make a first impression. So often we think about first impressions as in face-to-face, but no, first impressions can be through an email, absolutely. So if your email is a little too direct, if your email is too indirect, if your email is clearly written by an AI chat, if your email has mistakes, if your email is confusing, if your email is vague means unclear, this is the first impression you're making. So it's a really big deal to be able to write professional, clear, polite emails and reports. So a professional email communicates so much more beyond words. And again, this is just an intro to why this is important, because we will go into each section bit by bit. But what I want to say here is I want to show you how important it is. If you write an email and it's structured and it's clear and it's polite and it's organized, then the person reading your email will say, wow, they're a professional, they're competent. And that person is going to likely trust you with more tasks and more business if you're not making mistakes, if it's very structured. If an email is easy for someone to read, well, they're going to want to work with you more. If it's a little confusing, or what do they mean by this, it's going to, well, that's your first impression. It's going to make them a little bit more hesitant to work with you. Also, having a very structured, clear email that follows certain guidelines, which I'll dive into completely in this masterclass, is if it's structured and if you're to the point respectfully and politely, you are respecting other people's time. And how a well-structured message really shows that you value their busy schedule, and it shows that you're busy. So let's go down to business. What's important here? Also, it's important when you write an email, again, first impressions, that it shows that you understand business etiquette and business etiquette in English and in global English. Even if you're dealing between Germany and Japan, you're going to be doing business in English. So showing that etiquette in business English is important. Even if you're dealing with another country that's not a native English speaker, you have to have that business English etiquette. Now, if you show polite language, if you show the appropriate tone, the proper greetings, cultural awareness, this can open doors to opportunities. People will want to collaborate more with someone who they feel comfortable with. And again, we put so much importance on just face-to-face communication with first impressions, but absolutely not. Sometimes, most often in business, the first communication you have with someone is written. So it does make a big deal. Now, misunderstandings can happen. My understanding of a word could be different from your understanding of a word. So we need to focus on global business English. We need to focus on English that other people can use, that other people can put into their translator should their level not be as high as yours, or vice versa. So writing a very clear, concise, polite email or report will really reduce the risk of misunderstandings. And misunderstandings in business, They cost people money. They cost people their jobs sometimes too. So we're going to ensure that all the tasks, all the deadlines that you have to talk about in your emails are coming across in a way that there can be no area of miscommunication, that people will understand what you're trying to get across. So this is why diving deep into emails is so important. Of course, you work in business. If you're in this masterclass, you're going to have an upper intermediate to advanced level of English. Good job for you. I mean, kudos to you. Kudos means respect, and good job. You're at a really great level. So you do obviously know the importance of email. So we're going to go into bit by bit with all of this in mind to make sure that by the end of this masterclass, you are completely comfortable, confident, and a lot more advanced in your business English communication when it comes to emails and writing reports. That little tiny line at the top of your email, a subject line, we're going to dive deep into a subject line. A lot of people put all their focus on the email. Well, a clear subject line is incredibly important. The reason it's important is a clear subject line is the first thing the recipient will see. And we look at think about your inbox. What you're going to see first is the sender and the subject line. So this subject line needs to grab their attention and needs to set the tone. And a clear subject line will help your reader prioritize your email for their work and help them understand the purpose and decide when and how to respond to it. So this is really important. A good subject line will clearly communicate the idea. It won't just say update. No. That's not communicating anything. It's going to have to be update on what. And a clear subject line also needs to indicate urgency if it is urgent. Be careful with this. Not if you send every single email with a level of urgency, people will start to ignore you. Not everything can be urgent. Even if it's urgent for you, you have to prioritize that and rank that. So of course, if there is something is urgent, you put that in the subject line. That's very important. Do not overdo this, because then people won't care. What people will come to know that your urgency is not necessarily their urgency. And another thing about a good subject line, it really helps with the email organization and searching later on. So this helps you and it helps them when you go through your folders and your files and your sent messages, just like the recipient will go through their folders and files and messages to read or messages to act on. A clear subject line will make sure that they know the priority of what needs to be done or what your email is about and how and when to respond to it. And again, a clear subject line will help to avoid any confusion. Again, if you just say update, well, that can be lost amongst a sea of emails on updates. So having a very clear subject line, they'll know, oh, this is for this, this is for this. And they won't be confused, or that's too, I don't know what that is, I'll look at it later. It could get lost, they could skip it completely. So a sample of a very good strong subject line is project update, action is required by August 5th. Now take a look how I wrote that. What do you notice about the capital letters? So surprisingly, a lot of my advanced ESL professionals don't know this rule. In the business English, you need to capitalize every single word in the subject line except for basic grammar words. This is the verb to be, prepositions, and articles. Of course, not if you're starting the sentence with it. So project update, action is required by August 5th or Aug 5th, doesn't matter. So what you're doing is you're capitalizing all of these words except for is and by, because those are grammar words and they're not the main function words. Now, again, this is a very strong subject line. You're saying it's an update on the project and action required by. So this shows a sense of urgency. And they know they have a date in the subject line. A lot of people don't put dates in the subject line. If something's urgent, if something has to be done by a certain time, this is fantastic. Throw a date in the subject line. Fantastic. Again, don't do this with all your messages. It's too much. People won't like this. But when something is critical, that's when you do it. You throw it in. Another one, invoice. Payment confirmation needed. Now notice how I have the invoice number there. This is great. This means before they even open the email of yours, they can pull up the invoice and have the invoice in front of them when they get to your email, which means you're going to have someone taking action on your email a lot more than if you just had invoice payment confirmation needed. They're like, oh, okay, what invoice is that? Open the email, read the email. That's the invoice. Okay, go find the invoice. And then that can take time. No, you put the invoice number in the subject line. That person will pull up the invoice before they even open your email. So you're going to get the response in a timely manner, usually anyway. Another one, Q3 marketing plan, feedback is requested. Okay, again, Q3 marketing plan. So you're attaching the third quarter marketing plan. So they know that's going to be a big document or a link, and they know exactly what's in the email and feedback requested. Okay, so they know now it's not just an FYI. It's not take your time to go through and look at it. This is something that they are sending you and they expect your feedback on it. So by putting this in the subject line, people know exactly what it is. It's an important file. It's a big file. It will take me time to read it. And they want my feedback on it. So this is very clear. People are really going to appreciate this. Another one, client meeting summary, follow-up items. So you were in a meeting or you asked to be put in the loop for a meeting. You have the summary, it's being sent to you, and follow-up items, which is going to have, who's doing what and what needs to be done. So again, this clearly sorts it for everyone. Okay, so now we have a subject line. Great, well done. Now we need to move into proper salutations and the tone. Again, as a first impression, the way you're saying hello is like being in person at a meeting and putting your hand forward with a big smile saying, hi, I'm Melissa, nice to meet you. Same thing goes when it comes to emails. Now, I have seen so many advanced ESL students either skip the greeting altogether. No hello, no dear, no hi, just the person's name. That is completely unacceptable in English. In English, it comes across really rude, really aggressive, far too strict. You always need to have a greeting. Now, I'm going to double on that. I've also seen some advanced ESL professionals, and they would put the greeting after the person's name. So Melissa, hello. Melissa, hi. Still, by putting my name first, I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? Are they upset with me? What's going on? It's so aggressive and not polite in English. You always put a greeting before the person's name. Incredibly important. This always has to be done. So hello, Melissa. Hi, Melissa. Dear Melissa. Dear Ms. Duarte. Whatever you want, you always have to put that first. Now, if you take a look at what little examples I have here, notice the comma. Again, I mean, this is the modern world. We do so much communication through Teams and through Slack and through our phones. When it comes to punctuation, punctuation's kind of getting a little relaxed. Here, it's not. Okay, here it's absolutely not. When it comes to an email, hi, Melissa, comma, next line. You have to have that structure. So greet the person, say their name, comma, and then down below. This is really important. Again, no, don't just use a person's name, and you have to have some sort of greeting. It's very important. So different types of greeting. Formal would be, dear Mr., dear Ms., Miss, or Mrs. The difference, if you don't know the difference between Miss, Ms., and Mrs. Miss is an unmarried woman. Mrs. is a married woman. And Ms., that's MS dot, is we don't know if she's married or not married, or we don't care. Ms. tends to be the standard in business English because it shouldn't matter, or it shouldn't be anyone's business if someone's married or not. You don't know if someone's married or not, and really, who cares? You're there doing business with them. So that tends to be the standard now, just Ms. So Mr. and Ms. Or doctor, if you want. Now, if it's quite formal, you can say dear, and then you can put their last name or first and last name. It used to be the standard quite a few years ago. You'd only put the person's last name. So you say, Dear Mr. Smith. And that was pretty, comma, don't forget the comma. And that was pretty standard. Now in business, I mean, we tend to call our bosses by their first names. It's not such a old conservative world of business anymore. So if you know your boss's first name or the person's first name, the client's first name, go ahead and use their first name. It's totally fine. Again, if you're working in a more conservative industry, maybe not. I mean, be aware of how emails are coming to you, kind of how people are working. But I would say 90% of industries, the first and last name, even in a very, very formal email, is perfectly fine. You know, Dear Bob Smith, comma, perfectly fine. Semi-formal, and semi-formal is where you want to be in business English. You don't want to be too casual or slangy. You don't want to be too formal. You want to be in the middle, a combination of both. This is the sweet spot when it comes to business English. So, hi, hello, this is great. Hi, hello, first name, comma. And then when you're dealing with someone who you know really well, you can just say, hi there, hello. If you don't know the person's name, hi there is actually really good too. If you don't know their name, hi there. It just means whoever you are. I don't know your name. And if you're sending an email to multiple people, you can say hi team, hello all. All those work really, really well. You don't want to be overly casual in greetings, like yo. Don't use yo. I mean, unless you can wear flip-flops to work and a hoodie. I wouldn't use yo. Hey is okay. Hey is pretty upbeat. It's not really, I don't use hey. It's a little bit too informal for my liking, so I don't recommend using hey. But again, if you're working in an IT startup and everyone's like under the age of 25 and everyone's really, really vibing and really young and energetic, hey can be okay, but don't use it with your clients, don't use it with your investors, so know who you're sending it to. I would just say hi. Hi is perfect. Now, you've said hello to the person. Fantastic. Next, we have to move on to greeting the person. Okay, so we have our clear subject line and we have our greeting. Now you cannot go to your email yet because you need to have an opening line. I work with a lot of international students, a lot of international clients, and I know in other languages you can get very much to the point quickly. And I understand the frustration a lot of students and ESL professionals have with English because you have to add this layer of politeness on top of this layer of like not really asking, but asking. So this is another example of that. You really do in an email, you need to kind of open the door to the email of what you're going to say. Imagine greeting someone at your office. You smile, you stick out your hand, and you say, thanks for coming. Nice to see you. Well, the exact same thing you'd say in an email. So I'm going to break down different email opening lines that you can use here. From formal to a bit more friendly. All of these are professional. And some of these you can use with colleagues or executives or clients, people you know, people you don't know. So one that's quite formal that works with everyone, someone you know, someone you don't know, an executive, is I hope this message finds you well. I hope this email finds you well. Or I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're having a great day. That works as well. I trust you're having a productive week. I trust you're having a good week. If you say I trust in English in this sentence, it just means I assume you're having a good week. And if you say I trust you're having a productive week, it means you're probably busy doing lots of great things. So it's quite a nice one to say. Or I hope your day's going smoothly, or I hope your week's going smoothly, or I hope everything's smooth on your end or going smooth on your end. Those are great. These are all, again, these can work in formal situations across the board. Across the board means including all situations. Another one, which is a bit more polite, but still very professional and not so formal, would be I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good start to your week. I hope all is going well with your team. I hope everything's going well on your end. I hope business is going smoothly. I hope all things are going great. So those are just nice ones. And again, if you are in the situation where someone's you're really close to them, it's a very relaxed environment. I hope you're having a great week so far. Hope everything's going well on your end. I hope your schedule's settled down a bit. This means you already know that they're quite busy. Or I hope you're enjoying some smooth progress today, which means you know they had some difficulties in the past. Or I hope things are going well with your current projects, which obviously you know that they work on a project base. So if you know the person kind of well, then you can kind of add that personal touch, and they'll appreciate it. They'll appreciate that. Oh yeah, I remember talking to you last week or mentioning last month about how busy I was. So in your email, I hope your schedule is settled down a bit this week. They're going to go, oh, that's nice. He or she remembers that conversation we had before. Another one, which is a little bit more casual, a great one to use on a Monday or Tuesday, is I hope you had a great weekend. And that's always a nice one because you're appreciating the fact that it's Monday morning or it's Tuesday and people are just moving back into work mode. So that's nice. Or I hope you're enjoying the summer so far. If you're sending a message to someone in July or August, this is a great one to say. I hope you're staying cool during this heat wave. If you're working with people in the same geographical place as you, then you can say, you can talk about the weather. I know this is like small talk entering emails. Sorry, it's unavoidable. But you can say these things, or I hope things are going well for you. I hope you're finding time to relax this week. And these are all really friendly, warm, and approachable. So what I'll do is I'm going to list these all for you, and I'm going to, as part of your homework for this, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to have you sort these through different categories and also go through and try. I'm going to put some errors in each of these and make sure you study them and you know how to fix these errors. What you want to be able to do by the end of this masterclass is you want to have your fingers just work on autopilot and type these sentences without even thinking. So I'm going to try my best to create this masterclass for you. So you have so much practice doing this that once you sit down at your laptop or you're on your phone or at your computer, you're just firing off. Firing off is like a firework or a gun. So very quickly, you can fire these off really, really quickly without having to think too much. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the structure of the email. A lot of people forget that email does need structure, and it truly, truly does. Think back of your times in high school and university, and you had to write an essay. And you would be deducted on points if you didn't have a clear structure in your essay. The same thing goes for emails. An email cannot just be this massive wall of text or this kind of running dialogue. You really do want to keep things structured because in the business world, people scan through hundreds of emails every single day. And if it's structured, people can quickly identify what's important. It's going to capture their attention quickly. It's going to present the key details very logically. It's going to reduce any confusion or unnecessary back and forth. You mentioned this was here, but I couldn't find it. And you're replying back and forth, waiting for their response. I mean, it's just a waste of time. It really respects the reader's time if you are structured with your emails, because you're saying, listen, your eyes can go here and then right down here. And I mean, sometimes you need to put a lot of stuff in an email, but not necessarily the person needs to read everything in the email, right? But you need to know that you sent it. So this is where this does come in handy, because people do read emails quickly. And if it's a lot of text, which you need to send, if you clearly structure that text, it was sent to them, and then they're going to be able to pinpoint and highlight and focus on the key points. And it also does increase the chance of them responding to you in a timely way. So if you are structured, it means they're not going to go, oh, I don't have time to read this email now. I'll read it later. It's too big. File it away, and then you're reduced on priority just because your email is like a wall of text. So if it is structured in a way that's like digestible for them, then you'll probably get a response sooner than if it wasn't. So this is actually really important. So part of the formula is a good email, you want to have your opening line. Okay, we had your opening greeting, hope this day finds you well. Now your opening line. Your opening line has to say why you're writing. I mean, this needs to be right off the bat. Right off the bat means first. So you say, "Dear Mr. Smith, comma, I hope this email finds you well." Boom. Now you go into your opening line. You're stating the purpose, why you're writing them. So I'm writing to request feedback on the attached report. I want to confirm the schedule for Thursday's site visit. Just a quick note on the follow-up from our last meeting. I'd like to schedule a call to discuss the next steps in the proposal. So right away, they open the email, nice little greeting, and they have exactly what you want from them, what the email's about, or what they need to do. This is beautiful. People appreciate this. Absolutely. So there's some weak and confusing starters. I'll write them down here. I mean, I hope things are going well with you. Just thinking about the stuff from the other day. What stuff? What other day, right? So, I mean, if it's a casual conversation with someone, you can go back and forth. But an email, no one has time for that. So don't use vague language like stuff and the other day. The points from proposal B on last Wednesday. So you're going to go through and you're going to be very clear with that. That's very important. So that's the very, very concise way to start the email, and you're saying exactly what you want. I mean, the email subject will give the reader the context, and then this first line states the purpose. So these two together, people are going to appreciate it because they know exactly what your email's about, what you want. Now you get to the main body of your email. You need to deliver your details very, very clearly. This is where a lot of emails kind of fall apart. Again, long, I call them walls of text, right? It's hard to get over a wall. It's overwhelming for the reader. You'll get filed away. Short, structured sections really help the readers know where to go, where they need to find information. One little side tip here when it comes to writing, and this is for all English writing, whether it's an email or it's a report or if it's something even longer, a proposal or a cover letter. In English, you don't want to have really long sentences, nor do you want to have long paragraphs. In the English world, especially in business English, we like things in bite-sized pieces and separated a lot. So if you're finding one sentence in English is more than 2 lines of an email, way too long. A general rule is about a line long. Think of like a piece of paper. A line long would be 1 sentence. It can be half a line, it can be a line and a half, but if it goes to 2 lines, that sentence needs to be separated to 2 sentences. The same thing goes along with paragraphs. I mean, a paragraph, as soon as the idea or topic changes, that needs to go to a new paragraph. And this is very relevant in emails as well. People want to see this. And I've seen so many examples, even just the last week, of highly professional, really high functioning business people, quite top of their game, who send these long sentences or long paragraphs. That is not acceptable in business English. So again, if you're changing a topic within an email, change to a new paragraph. If the paragraph has more than maybe 5 sentences, this is like a flexible rule, 4 to 6, whatever. But go by 5 sentences, go into another paragraph. Really separate for the reader. People appreciate this, and they will dive in. They'll spend their time reading the email. But if it's going to be this long bit of text, they're going to get lost. You'll get filed away. So 1 idea per paragraph is really common. Again, a paragraph, max you want to go is maybe 5 sentences per paragraph. If it's a lot of information you have to send, that's fine. Less sentences, the better. Keep each paragraph about, what, why, where, and how. So clearly people know exactly what that paragraph is about, what you need to tell them or what you need from them. Bullet points are fantastic. Bullet points really make our eye go thump, 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 and we follow it down, and we can really take out and elicit what we need from that big amount of text, that big email, because sometimes emails have to be big, and we can take out what we want. So use bullet points or numbering if it's action or if it's things in priority. If it's not, just use bullet points. Dates, tasks, facts, action items. Bold is great. Underline is great. You want to avoid caps. Caps is known as shouting. This is uppercase. Caps is known as shouting in business English, and especially even the word ASAP. ASAP is an acronym, but it also is kind of pushing for people. So you can totally use ASAP in lowercase. Of course, if you're using a general acronym like EOW, end of week, that's totally fine. But ASAP is kind of like, I need it now. So if you're shouting that in uppercase, that can be a little pushy. So lower that a little bit. But again, using bold for important items, using bullet points, this is really important. Underline where you need to. So down below, you could give an example of, I'm going to put down below examples of different ways you can add bullet points. So below, we need to focus on the following key tasks for the product launch. Boom, dum, dum, dum. I've listed them all there. You don't want to have a long paragraph and too many details about each. You're going to really give them an overview of each thing and say, listen, if you need more information, should you need more confirmation or more details, let me know. I'm happy to provide that. If you're sending them like an essay in an email, that's quite a lot. So maybe attach it as a document. An email shouldn't be as big as a document at all. And then now with the email, so you've said you have your greeting, you have your main body and your structure, you have to close it. And closing email is also very important. You have to tell the person what they need to do. So no mysteries here. Let them know what they need. So please let me know if this timeline works for you. Looking forward to your feedback by Wednesday. This is great. If you need feedback by Wednesday, tell them. Again, people, it's not pushy. People are busy. You're busy. And giving people a timeline is fantastic. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Thanks in advance for your attention to this. Thanks in advance. It's a little passive aggressive, but it's still used quite in formal business English. It's very good. And again, always, thanks, and give them a clear call to action. Thanks so much for your input. Appreciate your time. Again, that call to action. Please, get back to us by Wednesday. Much appreciated. And then we'll give a professional closing and an email signature, which we'll go on to next. Okay, so we're just going to go through some common mistakes in structure and how to fix them. So mistake number one, I've already mentioned this, is long, unbroken blocks of text, or as I call a wall of text. It is overwhelming for the reader. Again, you have to break it down. Short paragraphs, use bullets where you're able to, use numbering systems when you're able to. Break up the sentences, break up the structure. Paragraphs, very important. You want to have a lot of white space in your email, not just all text. Next one is this: if there's no clear purpose in the opening. After you greet the person, hope your day's going well, you need an opening. And the opening tells them what the email is about. That's going to be a mirror of what you put in your subject line. If you don't do this, it confuses the reader. Again, you'll probably get filed or your email will be pushed to the side. And you want to start with a direct reason why you're writing this message. So, hope your day is going well so far. I'm writing you to confirm the details of the next AGM, annual general meeting. So this is very important. You're going to give them a clear reason why you're writing them. Next one would be mixing multiple unrelated topics. So again, with the subject line is the subject. And so if anything in your email is not part of that subject, which is in your subject line, don't put it in that email. Make it a separate email. So it could be really hard for people to follow or hard for them to respond if they're thinking, look, they've asked me so many questions. We're talking about so many different topics. It's okay to break it into different emails. Or if you don't want to break into different emails, then in the subject line, clearly state the different topics you're going to address. And then clearly in your email, state the different topics. Have them broken up, different paragraph, different title, use bold. Make it very, very, very clear for people. Use separate emails or clearly labeled structure within the one email if you put everything together. And the last mistake would be the ending with no clear call to action. I mean, sometimes an email is just an FYI, but often an email, you need someone to do something. So if you don't have a clear call to action in the email, it's going to leave the reader with, okay, and what do I do? And I mean, the email didn't serve the purpose. So if the email needs someone to respond to it, the email needs someone's input. Someone needs to do something. You have to say that towards the end of your email and add a polite, clear text in the next step that's going to be a clear call to action. Now, just some final pro tips for mastering email structure. Write your email once, write it quickly, just throw everything in there, draft your message quickly, then go through and revise it for clarity and structure. So you don't have to write it with structure in mind. As you get more accustomed to writing a very structured email and you get more accustomed to writing an email in English using your own language, then you'll do this automatically. But still, just throw all your information in there and then go through and format it. Think about mobile phones, cell phones, smartphones, phones. Everyone's reading emails on their phone as well as a computer, so don't assume that someone is going to be reading on a big computer screen, because more often than not, it's going to be on a phone. So this means you don't want to read a lot of text on your phone. Nobody does. So keep it concise. Concise is a lot of information in a small package. Use bullet points. And make sure that there's a lot of white space in there. Again, having that white space, breaking up lines of paragraphs between sentences, it helps like the reader follow your message. It will reduce the stress for the reader. Otherwise, it's going to feel like especially on a phone, it's going to feel like a novel of information if there's a lot of information. So keep it very to the point and structured. And then again, if there's lots of information, just include lots of white space, new paragraphs where you can, in bullet points. And again, when it comes to writing emails, you want to name your attachments and link to them clearly. So of course, an attachment could be, Q3 sales summary, fine. But then you're going to say in your email, please find the attached Q3 sales summary. So you're going to repeat the title of the document, which you've attached also in that structured email. Okay, now we're looking at politeness and formality in emails. We've already touched on politeness and formality in every stage of this, and even with the structure and the greeting and whatnot. Fine. But politeness and formality has to be a common thread throughout all of the emails that you're sending, and also with reports as well. I'm focusing right now more on emails. So why this matters is it shows professionalism and cultural sensitivity. Again, in English, being polite is incredibly important. Being overly polite is even okay. Like, you do want to be quite polite. And a positive message will increase the chances of a positive response. So keep it positive, spread the love, be positive and kind and professional in what you're doing. Keep the formality up a little bit when it comes to emails, and that's pretty important. Now, the reason with formality, and I'm a firm believer that business English is not overly formal. It's not overly informal. It's right in the middle. That's the best business English. However, emails are emails, and emails are kind of the documents of the current day and age. So they are a bit more formal, or not even a bit. They are more formal than messaging someone in Slack or Teams or WhatsApp. I mean, there is a formality with an email. There is formalities to it. So one thing, you need to use complete sentences and correct grammar. So whereas if you're texting someone in WhatsApp or a quick message in Teams or Slack, fine, you don't have to have full sentences. When it comes to an email, you do need to keep that formality there. This is a place for it. So have a full sentence, put your period on the end, make sure your grammar is correct. This is pretty important. An interesting thing, when it comes to spoken business English, you want to almost always contract. Contract is, instead of saying, I would like the results by the end of the day, you'd say, I'd like the results by the end of the day. I would turns into I'd. Or I have got a problem with part 2 of the contract. no, I've got a problem with part 2 of the contract. So in spoken English and business English, you almost always want to contract. It's very strange for a native English speaker or people who work a lot in business English. If people are not contracting verbally, it's strange for us. You always want to contract. However, when it comes to emails, it's okay not to contract. And if you want quite a formal email, you actually don't want to contract. So you would not write, I'd like to hear from you by end of week. No, you'd put, I would like to hear from you by the end of week or by end of week. So in spoken English, I'd like to hear from you by end of week. But if it's an email, you want to up the formality a little bit, and you actually would put, I would, and you'd write that out. So if you want a formal tone to your emails, avoid contractions. Again, the exact same situation, exact same formality. If it's spoken, contract. They're kind of opposite. This is very important. Next one would be, you don't want to use too much slang or too many industry specific terms if someone outside your industry is on the other end of the email. It's just kind of rude. Not everyone knows your in-house terms that you use or terminology. So just make it easy for the reader. Don't make people guess or wonder what things are. Don't try to impress anyone with terms that you know. If they don't understand what you're saying, you're not going to impress them. You're going to frustrate them. And don't use too much slang. Again, this is fine in Slack or Teams and messaging systems. This is a different beast. When it comes to an email, you don't want to use too much slang. It's just not too appropriate for an email. So something that's too casual would be, oh, gonna send that soon. No, I'll be sending that soon. You can expect that soon. I'll send it shortly. And again, with gonna, to write gonna is not great. When it comes to spoken English, I'm going to send it to you end of day. I'm going to send it to you end of day. It's pretty professional. It's totally fine in spoken English. Never written. Not at all, especially not in an email. Okay, next one is FYI, I need this right away. I need this ASAP. FYI means for your information. Everyone knows that. That's fine. But it's a little bit too casual, too direct. FYI, I need this right away. No, just a quick note. Could you please send this by end of day? Could you please send this within the next hour? So be clear. Fast. What's fast? Fast for me could be fast for somebody else. Fast could be different for other people. And FYI, if you're asking someone for something and use FYI, it's a little rude. If you say FYI, I'm going to be late to the meeting, that's fine. FYI, the client signed the contract, that's fine. But if you're requesting something from someone and use FYI, it's not so polite. And another one, you say, hey, got a sec? Well, no. Hi, Sarah, do you have a moment to discuss? And you're going to list what you have. An interesting thing about hey is fine. I avoid using hey. I say hi. Hey is a little informal in the world of business. Again, find out what your colleagues and clients and people in your company use. If they're using hey a lot, then go ahead and use hey. However, it doesn't hurt to err on the little bit side of formality. And again, I'm a big fan of not being overly formal in business. I think it's wrong. And business is about building relationships and I don't want to push anyone to be too formal, but hey is a little bit too formal, a little bit too informal in my opinion, and I'd avoid it altogether. A little bit of the tips here would be you want to mirror the tone of the people you're working with. So this is not going to be the first time you receive an email from a new client. This is not going to be the first time you receive an email from your colleagues or your executives. So understand the tone that they're using. You don't want to go over in formality from other people and the tone that they use in their emails. You're not gonna impress them. You'll look a little detached from the vibe and from the tone that they're using. So really, read through, do your research, read through how other people write their emails, the tone that they have, and try to match that. Do's and don'ts of email etiquette. Okay, There's so much email etiquette here. So we're going to go down in different parts of emails from the beginning into the end of emails. So first of all is proofread everything you're writing for grammar and spelling. Now there's a thing called a typo, and a typo is when you're typing and you just press the wrong key by accident, or you double a key by accident, or you just, I don't know, you're distracted and you make a small mistake. So a typo means you've made a mistake, but it's not because you don't know the correct word or you don't know how to spell the correct word. It's just you're so busy and you sent it off too quick. Fine. Typos happen. I do typos. Typos happen. We live in a busy, busy world. However, a typo in a text message or in an online messaging system or a group chat is acceptable if it's really quick and really casual. Emails last forever. This thing's called a digital trail. And emails often contain important information. So a typo in an email is not a good thing. Unfortunately, typos are not always caught by your spell checker or by Grammarly or by other tools you use. And the reason is if I forget the E on hate, I would hate to have this client not sign with us. And if I forget the E, or I think I pressed the E and I didn't press the E, well, hat is there. And hat is a word. It won't be picked up by spell check. So it's really important to proofread your messages before you go through and press the send button. Now, our eyes are our very worst editors. Totally. So what I would say is, don't heavily rely on AI at all for writing your emails. Again, it's really obvious to the world if an email is written by AI. But once you use your own language and you have an email composed, you can copy that, throw it into AI and say, listen, any mistakes here? And did I miss anything? Any errors? And so it won't change your language. It won't change what you're writing, so which is good because you want to keep your own voice. That keeps it professional. It means I have a brain. I'm able to write emails. I'm not only relying on AI, but that will then catch if you did make a mistake that other systems are not going to check, and that's pretty important. Another great way to do this is before you even put in the to. So you have your email ready, you have your subject line, you have the whole body of your email, everything's done. Before you even put into, add your attachments and proofread it for any mistakes. So it's just so easy to open up a new email and we go in order. We write to, subject line, body, attach, send, right? We go from top to bottom. That's all very natural. I really suggest not doing that. I suggest opening up the email, maybe even start it with your attachment first. Because how many times have we all sent emails and the only purpose of the email was to send an attachment, and that's the one thing you forgot? We've all been there. So I would recommend, write your email, proofread it, put on your attachments before you even put into, because sometimes we spend a long time writing an email. We're like, oh, good enough, go. Send, and then you realize, oh, there was a mistake in there. There's a typo in there. So proofread for this. Now, also you want to proofread for grammar. This is big. Grammar is really hard in English because some of the most difficult grammar for advanced level English speakers to really fine tune and get right is some of the most simplest grammar. It's your articles, your prepositions, gerund and infinitive. These tend to be the biggest issues that people have who are advanced, upper intermediate and advanced English speakers in business English. And the reason is there's not a lot of rules that go along with this. So sometimes our eyes can be horrible editors. Our ear can be a great editor. So your ear has heard more English, more perfect English than your mind knows and then your mind remembers. So you can go through and just read your email out loud. Have it hit your ear, and your ear might catch some grammar mistakes you do there. I want to see you on the meeting at 4 o'clock. Oh, on, that's not on, at the meeting at 4 o'clock. So your ear may catch any grammatical mistakes you have there. That's very important. Again, use proper punctuation and capitalization. Remember that subject line, you want to capitalize every single main word there, not the small grammar words. That's very important. And use proper punctuation. Now, Again, when it comes to emails, I mean, you don't need to use semicolons. You're not writing an essay. You don't need to use too many commas in a sentence. There's flexibility in modern English. Fine. But if it's a sentence, put a period at the end. When it comes to bullet points, there's two camps this goes into. Some people like periods and bullet points. Some people don't like periods and bullet points. Do what you like. It doesn't matter. Just be consistent. So if you're listing 5 things with bullet points and some have periods and some don't, that's a big problem. That means you have no attention to detail. So either go all in or all out, but that's very important. Another one would be if someone does send you an email, you know what? You should reply promptly if their subject line says that something is quite urgent. So at least acknowledge, got your email, I'll take a look at it tomorrow. Got your email, thanks so much, I'll take a look at it this afternoon. If someone's waiting for you to respond to it, if they have a read receipt or if in the subject line it says it's quite urgent, have the respect of just responding that I've got it and let them know when they can expect a response or action from you. Another one is respect time zones. Now, I used to believe that if people wanted to get messages, that they would have their phones on or they'd have their notifications on. Now I know that people do live across the world and people have families and people have important things going on in their life or friends that need them. So people will not always silence their phone for notifications. So I've learned the hard way that, it might be fine for me to send off a message at 11 at night because that's when I finish the message. And I'm assuming their phone is off, their notifications are off, and they won't get it till the next morning. But not everyone turns off the notification. Some key don'ts is don't use all caps. Again, I mentioned earlier about ASAP, and of course it's an acronym. And of course, an acronym like EOD, end of day, you want to put, or FYI, you want to put acronyms in uppercase. ASAP is a totally different beast because ASAP means do it now, as soon as possible. So this is one that's okay, unless it's a formal email, to bring it into lowercase. Totally fine. But again, you don't want to use all caps. It feels like shouting. You have bold for this reason. You have underline for this reason. Sometimes you do need to, just state that something in a different way that's not bold or that's not underlined. So you could put something in all caps, but like a word or two and then once. And only if you've already used a lot of bold or a lot of underline in your formatting. Don't overly use punctuation. I'm looking forward to working with you. Exclamation mark. 1 exclamation mark. We love your enthusiasm, but keep it professional. 1 exclamation mark's fine. Don't do a reply all, kind of like with CCs. Don't do a reply all unless it's necessary because everyone's going to get that response. Really choose your audience. People's time is important to them. Your time's important. Do you want to be replied all on everything and have to go through it? Not necessarily. Another one is don't send a huge attachment without warning someone. And if it is, maybe just link to a Google Drive or share it with them. Because people could be opening on their phones. It could be opening on a system that's at work that doesn't have a lot of memory. So give people a heads up. Heads up means advance warning. If you're sending a huge attachment, let them know. Along with punctuation, exclamation marks, same thing goes with emojis. Don't overly use them. Don't overly use them. A thumbs up's pretty standard, but really, when it comes to email, you can just completely avoid emojis, and it's good. I wouldn't even add an emoji in any email. When it comes to messaging systems and small little texts, it's okay. Use them very sparingly. Sparingly means only a little bit, but I just avoid emojis completely unless people are using them a lot. You could match it, but if you avoid it, you're never going to be wrong. And last one is don't write too emotionally when you're frustrated. So this is totally not even about English, but if you're repeating something to someone that you've already told them about in an email, if someone's late getting something to you, again, an email lasts forever and tone comes across in email. So Keep it polite, keep it professional. Don't let any emotional parts come into your email. Don't let frustration come in through your email. So again, this is my tips here for keeping everything professional and polite, keeping etiquette when it comes to emails. Okay, so now we're looking at professional closing to the email. So think of an email like walking into someone's office, right? So you're just gonna, they open their office door. Hi, nice to see you again. Hope your day is going well. Same thing on an email. Hi, Bob, comma. Hope your day is going well. Sit down, you talk business. Well, the business meeting's over. You're going to stand up. Thanks so much for having me. It was a great discussion. Look forward to the next steps. Take care. Have a good day. Bye. And you're out of the office. Think of that same structure just like an email. So an email kind of wants to follow the same little bits. So you wouldn't just be in a meeting with someone, sit up, bye, and leave the office. No, you'd say a little bit of a closing line. Thanks so much for having me. This was a constructive meeting. Looking forward to next steps. So the same thing goes in a business email. So this does matter, and we kind of want to follow that same structure. So this shows you appreciate their time, or it signals that that this is going to move on to the next part of this long email discussion. It could reinforce your professionalism or your enthusiasm to work with them. It shows your professional tone, shows you know how to present yourself, and you know how to sign off. And it really does provide all the groundwork to build a relationship and a rapport. Rapport is like a business, rapport means relationship, but more in a business formality or business setting. So we're going to look at some strong professional closing phrases. And again, after you finish writing your entire body of email, you don't want to just go into, kind regards, Melissa. No, you need a sentence in there. So I'm going to show you some great sentences, again, that kind of mirror the introduction that we had previously in this little masterclass, and some good ones you can use here. So thank you for taking the time to read this or review this if they were reviewing something. That's great. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. If you sent something to someone and you're waiting for their feedback on it, or you want their input on it, this is perfect. I appreciate your attention to this matter, or your attention on this matter. To or on, both are fine here. And this obviously means there's an issue, there's a problem, and you're expecting them to take care of it or to work on it. Please let me know if you have any questions. This is a common one. I'm sure you already used this one. I'm looking forward to the next steps in this project. Looking forward to continued collaboration. Thanks again for your support. Let me know if there's anything else you need from my end. I'll follow up again next week if I haven't heard from you. This is kind of nice. This just means I know you're busy. I'm sending this to you, and I'll follow up next week. You don't have to follow up with me, and that's kind of nice. Or thanks so much for your help. Thanks in advance for getting back to me. So there's lots of different ways to say this. I mean, fit these to your situation and fit these to your email, but you do want to have that before you sign off. Now, when you do sign off, you can't just put your name. You have to, just like you can't just put a person's name to start an email, you can't put your name to finish an email. You have to sign off correctly. So the golden standard for formal environments is sincerely. This still works. Sincerely is still very relevant and perfect. Again, just like when you'd say, hi, Melissa, comma, email body, when you sign off, you need the comma again. So sincerely, comma, Melissa Duarte. So you need to have that punctuation that's still very relevant and important in business emails. So sincerely is still the golden standard. This is formal. It's not for most business settings, but if it's a formal business setting, if it's someone you've never contacted before, if this is a banking industry, maybe legal industry, more conservative industries, sincerely is perfect. Now, apart from sincerely, there's a whole chunk that's kind of fits in the middle that could be used for almost all formal and even semi-formal situations or informal. Best regards, comma, kind regards, comma, regards on its own is perfect, comma. There's warm regards. People use it. I don't like it. I think warm is too cute and cuddly for business English, so I'm not going to teach it to you. But those are quite good. Best regards, kind regards, or just regards. Both of them are to the point. They fit like the whole rainbow and arc of formality. These are my favorite. Best regards, kind regards, regards. That's great. Another one's a bit more friendly would be thanks again. And again, if you are working with this person on a regular basis and you want to show appreciation for their time or their input, thanks again is perfect. It's a little informal, but it's very, very polite. All the best is quite friendly. So if this is someone you deal with on a regular basis, all the best is great. It's neutral, but it's friendly. So you wouldn't say this to someone who you've only been speaking with once or twice via email. This is someone who you have a rapport relationship with. And another one in the formal side could be respectfully. And this is kind of when you're dealing with someone a lot higher than you. And again, only those conservative industries, maybe banking, finance, legal industries, government, respectfully is also used. Otherwise, just best is fantastic. Now, when it comes, this is for emails, when it comes to messaging systems and informal chats on your phone, people could say cheers. Cheers means, you probably know cheers, putting two glasses together and saying cheers. Fine. But in British English, people use cheers to say thanks. In an email, it's a bit too informal. I'd avoid it. This is great for messaging systems. Cheers. Have a great day. Bye. This is perfect. Okay, now there's some common mistakes that come with writing emails. And this is tricky because a lot of this is going to be grammar or it's going to be sloppy typing. Sloppy just means like a typo. You're typing too fast. You're making mistakes. So one thing would be when it comes to phrasal verbs, and again, you wouldn't think grammar comes into play in emails. It really does. So the most common thing at the end of an email is looking forward to whatever, hearing from you, working with you, getting started with this, meeting up next week. Fine. Did you hear what I said there? Looking forward to hearing from you, meeting with you, speaking with you. When you have a phrasal verb in English, the next verb is a gerund. Gerund is a verb followed by ing. So I've seen very advanced professionals, right, looking forward to hear from you. No, that's completely wrong grammar. Looking forward to hearing from you. So this is important. Get the chunks of phrases that you use commonly in business English in your emails, and then make sure if it's a phrasal verb in there, that next verb, it needs to be a gerund. Gerund is with ing. Another one would be using the wrong conjugation or wrong form of a word. So your feedback was very affected. No, that's not right. It was very effective. So having that root word affects, there's a noun, there's an adverb, there's an adjective, there's a verb that goes with it. Make sure you're using the right form of the verb or the word or from the root that you want. Another one would be interested and interesting, really knowing your grammar, knowing your vocabulary. So I wouldn't say I am interesting to learn more. No, that is interesting. I am interested. So make sure you know your language that you're using. Again, interesting is a perfect word. Your presentation was interesting. I'm interested to work with you. So interested is the feeling. Interesting is the thing that provides a feeling. So make sure you're reviewing these little bits of grammar. I'm going to do a complete sheet for you guys and a worksheet on this with the gerund infinitive and with adjectives and of the little prepositions and little bits of grammar that come up in emails, because it does happen. And we write quickly, but these are a real big red flag that your English level needs to be worked on. Another one would be just, again, don't be sloppy. So you can't say best regard. That's wrong. You can't even say kind regard. That's wrong. You need an S there. Best regards, kind regards, or again, just regards. You have to have the S there. And again, if someone word is right, thanks for your quickly response. Nope. You respond quickly. Thank you for your quick response. Mixing up adjectives and adverbs, another big no-no in English. That shows your grammar is a little bit lower, so we need to work on that as well. Okay, now we're getting to the nitty-gritty of this lesson. Nitty-gritty means the core, the most important parts of it. So this is going through vocabulary, chunks of vocabulary, chunks are big pieces, or phrases that you could use in business English in all of your emails. I'm going to make them per situation, and then I'm going to break them down for formality. Okay, so first one will be making a request or asking for someone to take action on something. So I'm following up on something. A bit more formal would be, I'd like to follow up on something. Or again, if you want it more formal, I would like to follow up on something. Reach out. Reach out is like this means to reach in English. So, but to reach out means to contact someone. So I'm reaching out to get your input on this. I'm getting in touch with you to get your input on this. Get back. Get back means to respond or reply. So please, can you get back to me by Friday? It means can you respond by Friday? So get back is very useful. Another one would be when you're giving information or updates. So I'd like to fill you in. I'd like to keep you in the loop on this. And this means inform someone on something. So let me fill you in on the client's latest response. Let me keep you in the loop on the client's movements. Another one would be bring up. I'd like to bring up something. It means I'd like to mention or introduce a topic. So in the last meeting, the client brought up a concern about this scheduling. Brought up means they introduced the topic or they mentioned something. Keep someone posted is very similar to filling someone in. Filling someone in is giving them the details right now, keep them in the loop at the moment. Or to keep someone posted means going forward, I'll keep you in the loop. So to keep someone posted means I will keep you informed about something. So let me keep you posted on any changes to the budget. Another one would be point out, and point out is a synonym for highlight. So I'd like to point out that your department has not met their KPIs for 2 quarters running. It just means 2 quarters in a row. That's what running means. Or I'd like to point out a few key points of this email. If it's a really large email, then you can point out with your bullets the key highlighted points there. Layout or map out would be to explain something in a way that someone could kind of follow as if it was a map, like a flow chart, for example. So I'd like to lay out the plan for the next phase, which means I'm going to kind of explain it or present it to you, which is very useful. Next one would be confirming or clarifying. So when you are sending an email, you need to the purpose of your email is to confirm or clarify with people. Double check. So I'm ready to double check the delivery date. Double check just means verify or confirm. This is great. With double check, you do want that hyphen in there. Another one would be look into. So to look into means to investigate. So we'll look into this issue immediately. This is very formal. Phrasal verbs are very useful, and I'm a big believer of phrasal verbs. I do believe they're the backbone of business English. We use them all the time. So look into is fantastic. Go over. Go over means review. So I'd like to go over the details once more. Do you mind going over the attached document for me? Going over means to review something, like to run your eyes over something. Not detailed to go over, but it means to review. To go through something and make sure there's no mistakes or nothing's been missed. Next one, if you're making polite offers or suggestions. So step in. If you ask someone to step in, you want them to assist. If you offer to step in, you're offering your assistance. So I'm happy to step in if your team needs it. So I'm happy to assist if your team needs it. Look into would be kind of explore something a little bit further. So let's look into alternative vendors, which means explore or even consider and get the details for them. Run by is fantastic. If you want to run something by someone, you want to share it with them for their input, for their review. So I'd like to run by this proposal with you, or I'd like to run the figures by you, which means I want to give them to you and get your input, get your take on it. Take is another way for saying opinion. Another one, if your email is for following up or reminding people politely, you could say, oh, I'm just checking in to see if you've had time to review document A. Checking in just means I'm following up, I'm touching base. Or circle back means let's circle back to this topic after the client presentation. Just means right now we can't do it, but we will come back to it later. So it means to return to a topic at a later date. Following up, I mean, you guys all know this one. This is pretty common. To follow up, I just want to follow up on my last email. Hello, did you get my last email? So follow up just means to check back on something again, which is a great one. Expressing appreciation or gratitude. So you can reach out to someone to thank them for something, and this shows you're thankful. So thanks so much for reaching out, which means thank you for contacting me. A shout out is pretty informal, but shout out means kudos, recognition. Kudos you can use in all levels of formality. Shout out is a bit more informal. It just means I want to give a shout out to the design team for the great work on the marketing plan, for example, or the presentation slides. So shout out means kudos or respect to people, and people appreciate that. It's very nice vocabulary. Another one would be saying no or declining politely. This happens. So to reject something or decline something, you can say turn down. So unfortunately, we have to turn down the offer. Thank you for the invite. However, I have to turn it down. I'm too busy at the moment. So turn down means decline or reject something. Or you can pass on something as well. So someone offers something to you. Sorry, I'm going to pass on this, which means I'm not going to accept it. I'll pass on the webinar, but thank you so much for the invite. It just means I'm not able to attend, or I don't want to attend. It doesn't tell them why, but it means you're not going to do it. You're going to pass on it. When it comes to setting timelines and deadlines, now we have pushback and move forward or bring forward. So push back means to postpone. It's going to be later. So if you have a meeting at 12 o'clock, but for whatever reason, it can't happen at 12 o'clock, you're going to push it back 30 minutes, which means you're going to have it at 12:30, 12:30. So this means postpone or delay something. Can we push back the meeting to Thursday? So you're going to make it later. You're going to postpone it. Another would be wrap up. Wrap up is great. Wrap up means to conclude something. So if in your email, you want to say, listen, I want this done and finished and delivered to the client by Friday. I want this wrapped up by Friday. Wrapped up just means finished, with like a present with a bow on top, concluded and done. And move forward. It means to proceed with something. So let's move forward with this idea. I'd like to move forward with this partnership. I'm excited to move forward with you with your application, if this is an HR setting. So move forward means to proceed. We're going to take a look at some idioms. And these are idioms in business English. Idioms are beautiful. I'm sure you use them in your own language a lot. In business English, we use phrasal verbs and idioms so much. And idioms really pack a punch. Idioms are this many words, but within the words have a whole situation and feeling. So they're very useful. First one is get the ball rolling. Get the ball rolling means start a process. Let's get the ball rolling on the product launch. Let's get the ball rolling with client A. This means let's start the process. Let's get going. Another one would be back to square one. This means when something happens and you have to start over again. So thank you so much for your proposal. I got the client feedback. They're not very happy. So it's back to square one with the design, which means we have to go right back, start everything all over again. Call the shots means to be in control. So you could say, ultimately, James will call the shots on the approval. So thank you for your email. However, I'm not the one who can make the call. Make the call means make a decision. It's James who calls the shots. So then at least you can telling the person who they can contact, who's in control of decision making. Another one would be on the same page. And this means you have the same opinion on something or you agree about something. So let's schedule the call to make sure we're on the same page. Sometimes an email and email conversations have to be taken to verbal, and you do need to speak with someone. So you can say, to make sure we're on the same page, let's schedule a call. Or from our last meeting, here's this email just summarizing the key points to make sure we're on the same page, which means make sure that I understand what you understand and we agree. Next one is idioms for progress and deadlines. First one would be in the pipeline. And in the pipeline, this is pretty common. I'm sure you know this one. It just means it's in progress. So the features are currently in the pipeline. It means we're working on it. They're not ready yet, but they are being worked on. Hit the ground running is great. Hit the ground running. Imagine Tom Cruise jumping out of a helicopter, and the moment he hits the ground, he's running away, and he's effective and productive the moment he hits the ground after skydiving. So this is what it means, hit the ground running. It means you start something quickly and effectively. So we're hoping the new hires can hit the ground running next week. So it just means they're not going to be spending weeks in training and being onboarded. They're going to be effective and productive like as soon as possible. Next one would be meet halfway. This is very good if you're talking about compromises in emails. If emails go back and forth in the realm of negotiation, okay, well, let's try to meet halfway, which means we're going to make a compromise. So we're happy to meet you halfway on the price. I want this. You guys want to pay this. Let's meet halfway. Another one for idioms would be for problems and solutions. Drop the ball. If someone makes a mistake, they had responsibility in their hand and they did not fulfill that responsibility. They made a mistake. They didn't call someone on time. They missed a meeting. They sent the wrong attachment. Whatever the case was, a mistake was made. You can say the ball was dropped. So apologies, we dropped the ball on updating the document. An older document was sent through the client. We dropped the ball. So drop the ball just means we made a mistake. Another one would be a tough call. And a tough call is a decision. Call in business English as a noun can mean decision. So this is a tough call, but we decided to delay the rollout. We decided to delay the launch. So it's a tough call to set the timeline for the next project. We don't know yet. We'll have to see. So those are useful ones. Next one would be for collaborating and feedback. So to run something by someone means you're asking them for their feedback. So I'd like to run this idea by you. Do you mind taking a look at the attached document? I'd like to run it by you. I'd like to run my thoughts by you. So to run something by someone means you're sending it to them, giving it to them, and asking for their feedback. Another one would be to give the green light or get the green light. So if you give the green light, you approve something. You get the green light, you've received approval. So has the leadership given the green light yet for project A? Or I'm hoping to get the green light from you by Thursday, which means approval so I can move ahead. Just like in a car, once a light goes green, you can move ahead. And touch base means to connect briefly. So if you need to schedule a quick call with someone, a quick meeting with someone, and you talk with them in email, I just want to touch base with you next week at 4. Do you have 15 minutes? Or I'm writing this email to touch base regarding this. Meaning this is going to be a very short conversation, a very short email. It's not going to be long, but just means you're going to connect briefly. This is a fantastic one. And again, with loop, I've mentioned loop earlier before. Keep me in the loop. Keep me informed. Would you like to be kept in the loop about budget changes? Yes, please keep me in the loop. Don't bother keeping me in the loop unless there's a change to, document S. So only if someone wants to be in the loop, it means they want to be informed. We did our emails. We did all of our emails. Now we're taking a look at report writing basics. Okay, now this is not going to dive too deep into reports. There's different types of reports. Reports are used to communicate business decisions, analysis, and results. Reports have to be objective and structured and clearly formatted. Reports tend to be more focused on data than necessarily words. So this is not as big as emails by any means. Usually when it comes to reports, what works in your language usually is going to work in English. I mean, you have to translate it, but there's not the whole level of formality. There's not the whole level of situation. It's usually just the key components that go in there. and you can usually just translate them. One thing, if you are presenting a report, you make sure, again, you have that white space. People do enjoy that when you have white space, especially if it's on a screen or if you're sharing it in an online meeting. Have that white space there. Make it easy for their eyes. Use the bullet points. Be consistent with your punctuation. All this is very important. Now, when it comes to key components of a professional report, again, this is pretty similar in other languages, so this is not going to be huge. But you want to make sure you have the title and the date. Sometimes we forget the most simple things, and this is important. Executive summary. Give a high-level overview of what the report's about. People like this. People like this. So a high-level report just means, from a bird's eye view, what this is about, what they can expect to read, what's going to be in it. So this is really important, an executive summary. In this masterclass, we're going to work on a report. Don't worry, I've got your back. We'll do this. But again, there's not all the different situations or words like we have in emails. A report is not so much different between English and other languages. There's sections with headings. So when you do have a report, again, all that white space that I spoke about in emails, keep it here as well. Break down content clearly. Make it really easy for people to follow and read. Every new section, have it with a heading. Have that heading larger or bolded or both or underlined. Just make it easy. And when it comes to formatting, I mean, this is not even about English at all, but when it comes to formatting, be consistent with your formatting. Because I've seen really high-level director reports where the formatting was different in part 1 to part 2. Why? I don't know. They were focused on the data or they were focused on the words, but the formatting is incredibly important because it just makes the whole thing look a little bit less professional. It's really important. When you're dealing with data and evidence, use charts, use figures, bullet points. Bullet points make the business world go round. Everyone loves bullet points because we want things in short, little, concise sentences, and that's what a bullet point is. Again, be aware of the punctuation with bullet points. Either use punctuation with them all, if it's a sentence, or don't use it. Doesn't matter, but be consistent. Of course, when it comes to any report, you want to clearly outline recommendations or next steps. People want to look at something and understand it. You don't want to inundate them, which means overwhelm them with words or content. A report should be something digestible. Digestible means your brain can eat it. It's easy to understand and know what's happening with something. And of course, you're going to add your conclusion with your summary and your author info right in, who wrote this and all your information, contact details if that's necessary. When it comes to writing style for reports, you don't want to be overly formal. You don't want to be overly wordy at all. You want to use a real neutral, impersonal tone. You want to avoid saying I think or I suggest. Take yourself out of it. When it comes to writing reports, this passive voice is quite good because passive voice takes out the person doing the action. So this is quite nice using the passive voice. That's a good bit of grammar there. And again, you don't want to be overly formal. You don't want to be wordy. You just want to keep it to the most important part of what's in the report. Probably the same in your language. So again, there's not too much difference here between English and other languages when it comes to reports. One thing is be concise. Concise means this many words in this many words. So you want to put together a big idea in a small package. So choose your words wisely. Avoid repetition. If you said something once in the report and you need to highlight that again because it's so incredibly important, don't. Just put it in bold or underline it. Then people will know it's important. Don't repeat it. When it comes to a report, you don't need unnecessary words. Avoid repetition. If you must repeat something, paraphrase it, which use different words. So it's not obvious to people that you're repeating because you're paraphrasing using different words. And again, You don't want to be overly formal, and you definitely want to avoid slang. Use a nice, neutral, impersonal tone is usually the best here. Okay, so now we're just going to take a look at useful tools that you can use when you are writing emails or reports. So, I mean, I'm sure you're already using lots of tools. Tools are fantastic. You do need to have tools for proofreading. Now, I mean, I'm a writer, I'm a native English speaker, I'm a business person, I write books. However, my eyes can miss things. We are our own worst editors. So what I find, if I'm writing quite a long bit of writing, so if it was a big email or big report, I would pop that into Google Docs or into Word, and I have it actually read it out loud to me in that like robot man voice. And because my ear will always catch things that my eyes go over really quickly, and I don't catch my mistakes. So this is interesting. I mean, I'm a great writer. I'm a professional writer. But when I'm writing something, those are my own words. And so when I go to review it, I'm not really reading it correctly. I'm not reading it word for word. I'm reading what I wrote. So I skip, my eyes miss things. And this is common for anyone. So I really do recommend if it's something short, your eyes can catch it. But if it's a pretty big email or a pretty big report, pop it into a program, have it read it to you, and just sit back. And even, I mean, sometimes I close my eyes because my ears work better when my eyes are closed. I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing, but it does work for me. And then my ear will go, what was that mistake? What did I do there? So it will catch any typos. It will catch any mistakes that you make, again, that your eye may not have picked up on. And again, that works really well for me. What works for you could be different, but that I find most people are their own worst editors. Another one you can do, if you're in a situation where you don't have spell check, which not many of us are, but if you are ever in a situation like that, sometimes it's really worthwhile reading your document, your email or report from the bottom up. And it's not going to make any sense because you're reading it backwards, but your eye is looking at the individual word, and your eye will pick up if a word is misspelled. So if you're reviewing an email from the beginning to end, your eye will go over something really quickly because you're focused on the sentence meaning or the meaning of that paragraph or sentence. If you read it from the bottom up backwards, your eye's only looking at words because it's not going to make sense, and that's a really good way. If you're doing an essay or any bit of writing, this is a really good way to catch any spelling mistakes that you wouldn't always catch other ways. And then again, of course, you have lots of tools. Grammarly is fantastic. Microsoft, Google Docs all have great spell checks. AI works fantastic, and again, read aloud. That's one of my best tips there. Having your writing or your email sent to your ear is going to help you catch things your eyes would totally miss. Again, don't rely 100% on spell check. It can miss things. Don't rely 100% on Grammarly. It can miss things. Don't rely 100% on AI. It's too obvious and you'll sound like everybody else. So you want to use these tools 100%. They're fantastic tools. Don't rely on any of them completely. Make sure you have your own little tips for formatting and reviewing. So this brings us to the end of this masterclass on writing professional emails and reports. I truly hope you found this useful content and you've grown as a professional and an English speaker during this masterclass. And now that you feel more confident in writing emails that are clear and structured and effective and suit the global business English world, remember, the way you write reflects you professionally. Again, we only have one chance to make a first impression, and more often than not, the first impression is through written form. It's through emails. So hopefully you've gained lots of tips and lots of knowledge.